Susan Lutter retired at an early age from a high-powered Silicon Valley advertising career. So how did she get to volunteering full-time for apes in Africa? It all began with the introduction to a very special, one might even say superhuman, friend. While the skills she used in her previous profession are proving a surprisingly good fit in this new endeavor, she's also discovering the utterly unexpected about Africa, its animals, its people, and herself. Susan, you went from advertising to apes. How did that happen? Connect the dots for me, if you will.
Doesn't it always, right? It's sort of like solving puzzles. You know, in advertising, you're figuring out the parts and the pieces and the people to get something done, to get a product launched or a company launched. And I like that. And then I found a puzzle that really needed to be solved and that deserves to be solved. We're running out of gorillas. When I stopped working and started volunteering, and I was able to volunteer, ran across an opportunity with the Gorilla Foundation, which is Koko, who does sign language, and it was just fascinating. Going to work with Koko was probably the most stunning thing I'd ever done. It was completely different. It was fascinating work. I never would have thought that would have happened to me. And it's 12 miles from my house. I mean, who gets an opportunity to do something like that? It's just fascinating to learn about gorillas. Just watching her, she's funny. She makes bad comments if she doesn't like something. She teases. And she knew I didn't know sign language very well. Most of the people who work with her are very fluent. And when they speak sign to each other, it's a blur. If she wanted me to do something, she would sign very slowly and very large in exaggerated gestures. Funny. And then look at me as if to say, do you understand now? I mean, I didn't spend full time with her, but I got some glimpses into a very interesting personality.
While working with Koko, Susan learned about primate projects in Africa and soon found herself in Cameroon, volunteering for Ape Action Africa.
Ape Action Africa is what we call a conservation sanctuary. So we have two key roles in terms of conservation. The first is we make sure those rare survivors of disappearing species do survive. We have more than 250 gorillas, chimpanzees, endangered monkeys who live in health and safety under our protection in the forest. So that's one role. But that doesn't solve the problem. I mean, we need to save these individuals, but the real key role is working with everyone from the national government to the local communities to protect the forest and protect the wild. I expected to be amazed by the animals when I got there, and I was. I mean, they really, really are amazing. What I wasn't prepared for was to be blown away by the people. The people who are taking care of the animals, the people who are working with the villages, the communities nearby. I was just stunned. These are sophisticated, serious, strong people who aren't hard. They are creative, and I think the big thing is they don't give up. Mm-hmm. Those people just don't give up until that animal's in really good shape. Our animals live in big enclosures in big family groups. And baboons fight. That's just part of what they do. They have big teeth, and in one case a baboon was literally slit open across his entire torso. Rushed him into the clinic. He's on the table. They're going to stitch him up. They're going to do what they can. And his intestines just all slid out onto the floor. Now, they were still attached, but if you spread them out, apparently the connective tissue had been cut. That's not covered in the textbook. So the vet team got a bunch of bottled water, washed, cleaned, rinsed, put everything back in where it was supposed to be, tucked it in, stitched the guy up, and he was fine in a week.
Doesn't your organization have the best survival rate in Africa? Tell me, how do you do that?
Most of the animals who come to us are orphans, and it's because their whole family's been killed, and literally they are not worth the bullet. So when we get to somebody, they're not just injured, They're probably have disease and they're hungry and thirsty and all those things. So they need medical intervention and they need long-term psychological recovery. And when and they've lost their family. And babies stay on their mother for up to 3 years, literally on their mother full time. So you walk around the sanctuary, and so we have to, if we don't address that need, we'll lose them. So you'll see, if you're being the foster parent, you don't actually care for the baby, you wear them. You'll see people walking around with wheelbarrows with 2 or 3 chimpanzees or gorilla babies hanging on them because they would be hanging on their mother. And that's the psychological, that's the social.
Susan quickly discovered the importance of the local villages and expanded her work to helping them, raising funds for supplies and assistance, which has opened her eyes to a whole new view of the world.
I'm still amazed by these people and how much they can do without all the fancy, shiny trappings that we have here. And this is where, you know, for people from here, I mean, we're the ones who can help them with a lot of what they need. I'd love to be able to bridge that gap.